Good evening, guys. It's Phil. It's All Leeds TV, and we are live with a big match preview ahead of tomorrow's six-pointer, most likely, with Leicester at Elland Road. I'm going to ask both of you a question early doors, as obviously I welcome you in and say hello, but either of you going, I obviously know the answer, but there's a reason I'm asking so that you can tell the others that are watching with us. Are you going to the game, lad? Do you fancy being there tomorrow?
I'd want to be there, but due to other commitments, I can't. So, not going to be there tomorrow.
Other commitments?
Football. A football match.
Okay, so you've got some sort of bona fide excuse. Chris, would you have any good excuses to not wanting to be there tomorrow?
A good excuse not to be there. I mean, there's the ticketing system. We could blame that, but no, it's been a bad couple of games, and I think despite seeing 13 goals, I don't feel we've got our value for money in the last couple of trips.
Yeah. I've taken Chris's understanding and knowledge that if I go to this game tomorrow, which I still could, there are still tickets. If I go to this game, we will lose. So I'm staying at home for that reason. That's my main justification, as well as the fact that, why should I pay to watch this any more than I already have? And it's painful. But guys, welcome along. We've got Chris back as always. But first, I'm going to come to you, lad, because you are a lad with no dad. We have a rising superstar making a name for himself, stepping out the shadows. How does it feel to be here on your own? Do you feel a bit lonely?
It's a bit empty without Dad booming in with his controversial takes, but it's good. It's going to be a good experience doing it by myself, So it's going to be good.
Do you think it's going to be a lot less bullshit just floating around this conversation this evening? I feel like you talk some sense into it most times, but sometimes I think some of the stuff he says is just more to get a rise out of people, innit?
Oh,
he loves it. Chris, it's been a little while since we managed to get as close to the four of us as possible. I know we are missing one shiny-headed angel, as I call him, but good to have the three of us at least back. How's it been, Chris? How's things been going for you? Other than me?
I suppose obviously, like everyone else, a bit flat when it comes to Leeds at the moment. There isn't that much to look forward to. Normally, you look forward to whether you go into the game, watching it on TV. I think it's more just hope at the moment, hoping that something's going to change, maybe relying on other teams doing worse than us, and just praying that one of these players is going to step up. But it's challenging to watch us at the moment, and I can't remember it being this bad for a long time.
No, I think as much as I'm sure everyone would love to just skim over Fulham and pretend it didn't happen, I think we are going to have to talk about it. I'm not going to drag us all back to the last time we were all on together, which I can't remember when it was, but we would have to talk about Liverpool and Palace. And I'll be honest, I personally don't have it in me to do that anymore. I'm willing to do Fulham because it's quite recent and kind of feel obliged to, but oh God, that was painful. And the scoreline being 2-1 makes you feel as though we were in the game. So my mum went out and we were watching it at her house, and she came back at the end of the game. She was like, "What's the score? Did we win?" And I was just like, "No, Mum." She was like, "What was the score?" I was like, 2-1. She was like, "Oh, it sounds close." I was like, "It wasn't." She was like, "Did we score first?" No. "What was the score then? Like, how did it happen?" I was like, "Well, we went 2-0 down." And I stopped caring at that point. She was like, "But we got back in it." I was like, "No, we didn't get back in it. Someone used their arse to put a ball in his own net and give us some sort of hope that we didn't really deserve." It was such a horribly abject performance that it's so hard to actually feel any sort of positivity. I know we're going to try and do some drumming it up towards the end of the show because we have to. But Jesus Christ, that was awful to watch, wasn't it, Chris?
There was nothing good about it. I mean, you could maybe Cooper played pretty well, but we didn't string one decent attack together. The goal was scrappy as hell. Both of their goals were just giveaways, mistakes. Maybe even mistakes at right back. Melier, I don't want to criticise him too much, but he was. I don't know. He was at fault with both goals. I suppose we can't dress it up any other way. He should have done better. And I think that the lineup, everything was wrong from the start of the game. It wasn't the lineup any of us wanted. and we got the result that we probably all expected as when we saw that.
Yeah, it was just passive again, and I could understand sort of setting up the way that we set up against Liverpool. And like you guys were stood next to me at Liverpool, you could see how much it really bothered me, and I couldn't hold it in for the vast majority. I think I lost my voice from saying that same 4-letter word that you're not meant to say on air at most of our players that night. But it was just a lack of effort. And this time I've begun to sort of take it personally against Javi Gracia as well in a way that normally, up until maybe I kind of let him go with the Arsenal one because it's Arsenal. But Palace, Liverpool, and now Fulham, I am starting to take a bit of umbrage with the manager in terms of some of the decisions don't seem to really be making any sense. The way that he's setting us up doesn't really seem to sort of strike me as shit, we're in a relegation battle and we need points. It just seems so lackadaisical to expect us to go and just shut teams out that have got better quality than us and not really attack them. And even when we did get that consolation goal that it ended up being, we didn't look like we were going to try and push on and get an equaliser or go and win the game. Lad, how did you feel about Fulham as a performance as a whole? Obviously, first half, kept them out. We didn't concede just before half-time. That was good. But then, like Chris says, 2 bad mistakes, but it's not all on Meslier. It's just a terrible all-round performance.
Yeah. No, I mean, it isn't all Meslier. I mean, of course, like you can do better in them, but the problem is now it just feels like as soon as that first goal comes in, and I think it's ever since, we've had Gracia, we just don't feel like we can go on to win it.
Yeah.
It was, at least with I'm not praising him massive amounts, but with Marsh, it felt like, if we went 1 or 2 down, we could go and get back in the game because we've done it before. But the problem is with Gracia, he's too conservative. He just sits back a lot. And I think with Fulham, we just looked awful. Yeah. And, the mistakes were there to show. Meslier just looked totally off it. The defence just kept getting ripped apart. It was just depressing to watch. Like, even when we got our goal back to make it 2-1, I didn't celebrate. I just kind of sat there and just shrugged on, oh, nice one. At least it's a goal. At least it's a goal. What more can we ask for at this point?
Yeah. No, I definitely agree, mate. It's painful. Guys, if you are going to the game like Luke here, good on you. Please do your best to forget everything we're about to say over the next half an hour, 40 minutes, and go in there with some sort of positivity and clap them as much as you can. Try not to burn the place down, but I can understand the temptation. It's not going to be a nice atmosphere, I don't think, tomorrow night. I think obviously Javi Gracia was asking for positivity from the fans to turn up again tomorrow like we always do, but it just feels a bit like a loss of patience. I enjoyed that Lad actually said something there, and it's the first person I've ever heard say a good thing about Marsh over Gracia or any other manager, but you've managed to make me feel even worse now that you've reminded me, at least when we went behind with Jesse Marsh, we'd try and score. Now we go behind with Gracia and we don't seem to care. So you made me feel even worse than when we started. So well done. That's impressive. So much that we could pick out of that Fulham game. I mean, a lot of people are saying the same 2 names in the chat. Lad, do you think anyone comes out of it with any sort of credit? I think 2 people maybe, but anyone you really want to hammer for the performances as well while you're there?
Well, so I think the 2 names that, they can have a bit of like a positivity to them it was Werber and Cooper. It was good to see Werber back again. Cooper just, he looked like the only one that cared. He was flying into every tackle, picking up the yellows. For ones that, would deserve an absolute battering, one man I cannot stand at the moment, McKennie. What has happened to him? I thought it was just supposed to be some guy from Juventus, a top club, and he was getting consistent starts for them. He just looks clueless every time. Like, his passes are just like, I've barely seen like a pass over 10 yards that's gone to the man. And then his partner in crime in the midfield. I mean, you guys know how much I dislike Mark Rocker just from watching Leeds games with me. I'm just not a fan of him at all.
I do wish
He
I was
gives the
sat
ball.
next to you when that fourth corner went in, because I was going mental.
Yeah, no, that was just Mark Rocker. I've never been a fan of him. But I think the main problem is with that, I can't really point fingers at too many other people, but because they all collectively were bad. I'm putting them all in the same shit, but those two they just stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah,
They were dreadful.
yeah. The midfield was bad. I mean, I don't particularly want to call out individuals, but it's so hard not to lump Brendan Aronson in there with them. And Chris,
Yeah.
I'm assuming you were the same. Enjoyed having a bit of defensive solidity offered by having Cooper and Verba back, obviously, until we concede the first goal. I don't think you can say much wrong about Cooper at all, to be honest. Got dribbled past maybe once or twice, but that's not his strength. Some of his last-ditch tackles, agreed. Some people will say he was giving the ball away, which meant he had to make them. But I think out of the two, if you had to pick one as a man of the match, I would have probably gone Coops. Verba, could he communicate slightly better with Melier around the first goal? Maybe, but as an all-round unit, like Lad said, it's not great. And there's some players in there that when we get round to the lineup predictions, I'll be incredibly surprised to see if anyone says anything different. But how did you take individual performances on?
Yeah, I mean, there's just no one showing any passion, no desire, and as you say, the goal goes in and they give up. I mean, the fans will be behind the team tomorrow, I'm sure. Before kick-off, first 10 minutes, they'll be as loud as anything, and they'll be cheering them on. They won't be shout. Whoever starts, they won't be kind of shouting for them to be off the pitch, but they've got to show something back. And yeah, Aronson's probably been one of my sort of frustrations in the last couple of games, because he wants something. He wants someone to give him something on a plate. He doesn't want to fight, to go past someone. If he feels a tiny touch, he goes down. And same as Ruta when he's come on. I know he's young and he's had less minutes, so you can maybe forgive him. But the pair of them, when they were on together, I suppose some of this is talking about the Liverpool game as well. Yeah, they're just so lightweight, and they're not up for the battle. I think McKennie's not been great, but I mean he's not playing where I think we intended to play him. I think he was intended to play in the midfield three with Adams and Rocker, and if he was the one who was playing in Arison's position, I'd like to think we'd see a better result from him. He's not geared up to play in the two in front of the back four. Yeah. So that's not helping him, and we've left it too late really to start throwing some of the players in. We knew we had injuries. We knew Adams was out, and I just think 3-4 games ago was the time to throw in some of the other squad players who have not seen so much. Some of the younger players. It's too late now to throw anyone else in. We are stuck with the players we've got, because you can't. Yeah. There's no way you can start someone for their sort of first or second game tomorrow. I know there's talk about. Yeah, I'd love to have seen. I know he's been injured, so maybe he was never there for a shout. But four games ago, you could have maybe played him, but you can't now.
It's a lot of pressure to put on a young kid. Even if people are talking about Darko JB instead, it is a lot of pressure at this point of the season.
So I'd like to see them both, but just not now. It's far too late, and I guess in the press conference he kind of did say we're not going to make massive changes, and maybe that's it. But something's got to happen. I don't know the answer.
I think you're very right, and you make a good point when you're talking about we don't have any characters or leaders and physical presence as such in this team, especially if you take Coops out, which has been the case recently. Without Cooper and Verba, could you imagine how soft that game would have been, considering the way it ended with them in the team? But, you always hear that old thing from old pros, and they say in a relegation battle, you look around the dressing room and it's who can you take into battle with you that's going to bring you out of this mess? And I can honestly think at the moment, if you were in that dressing room looking at Brendan Aronson, there's no way you'd take him to war with you. Have you ever seen Troy, the film, where Brad Pitt's in it and then his little cousin dresses up as him and goes to war and gets killed instead? That's a bit like the Brendan Aronson thing. You just let the real soldier go to war instead, mate. You just stay back, sit on the bench, send Willing onto it. That's what I think most of us would like. So we'll get to lineup predictions, but it doesn't fill you with confidence at all. Some of the performance, I mean, the McKennie thing, I don't know whether it's something that just flies around on Twitter or you believe it or not, but I'm sure it's his dad, isn't it, that's constantly commenting on stuff on Twitter when anyone calls out McKennie. But he's kind of put something out recently, and I saw it do the rounds last week where he kind of openly admitted McKennie regrets coming here and doesn't particularly like it and is looking forward to going back to Juventus, hopes the obligation doesn't get taken up. I think that's probably stoked up some of the ill feeling with the fans as well, where we lose a bit of patience with him anyway. But like Lad says, when it is someone who comes in from a Juventus, not a Milton Keynes, and is meant to be a Champions League footballer, but I think we made the joke in our group chat the other day with Dad Chris about could you imagine him trying to do a session of murder ball? Could you imagine him coming in when Bielsa was in? There's no way he's passing a Bielsa medical. No chance. It does look like he doesn't want to be there, and I think whether it's in the right position or not, it's the lack of effort that I think that's made Rocca look worse. Don't get me wrong, I can't defend those fucking corners because they were so bad to watch. It's the same.
You can't defend him, and you can't defend him. You just can't defend him. I don't think you can.
I think it's got better slightly because at one point I was very much like not a fan. I think he's got better in some ways, but defensively as a unit, as a midfield without Tyler Adams, we look so exposed when anyone breaks on us. Such a lack of pace, lack of physicality. McKennie looks like he should have physicality, but doesn't. And then, as much as Aronson, you can lump him in with the rest of that front four. That front four have got to do more to defend back. And I think the only one that's really ever been good at sort of defending back is probably Jack Harrison, which is maybe why you can understand why he stays in the team. But I've got to try and drag some positivity out of this somewhere. But before we do that, let's have a look at our predictions and stuff. So we're going to have a bit of a catch-up. Obviously, Lad, you weren't here when we did the originals. But I did ask you to make your own. We're going to pretend that you did this and did it well and it didn't crash on you 15 times. But out of our predictions, Chris, that we made just before the Arsenal game, where have we picked up anything that you thought we would picked up? How have those 5 games panned out compared to what you expected, and then what did you originally have from that point till the end of the season, and would you change it now?
We've not picked up any surprise results, so we haven't suddenly sprung a miracle win. I think I'm only 2 points down to where I expected. So I thought we were going to beat Forest. I thought we were going to draw against Palace. Part of me wanted to predict a win, but probably a bit naive to think we'd get 2 wins in a week, and we're probably unlikely to get the 2 in this coming week as well. But it was the Palace and Fulham games that sort of knocked us. I think I had those down as 2 draws, and it's been two bad defeats. Obviously, Liverpool I kind of expected to be a write-off. It wasn't the 3-2 thriller that I had it down as. But,
so from Fulham onwards, so obviously 6 games left in the season. What did you originally predict your points to be for the next 6 games?
So I had us finishing on 39. So we're 2 down. So
37, which is where I originally had us.
Yeah. So I had a win against Leicester, but that was going in after a decent run of games, not getting battered twice.
Are you trying to say you might rescind that?
I'm trying to find any way to still say a win, but it's looking a bit dodgy. I thought we'd draw against Bournemouth. I kind of thought they were down and out when we first did the predictions. I guess they've been the surprise pack out of the lot. They've even if they haven't won, they've always either gone ahead. They've done something in the game, and they haven't just other than last week when they lost 5-0 or whatever it was. But obviously, Man City's a bit of a write-off. I think everyone's got that down as a loss, probably a heavy loss. Newcastle as well should be a loss. I've got it as a draw, and I still think it could be a draw just because it's a home game. The fans are going to be up for it. Hopefully, the players are it could be a fun game. West Ham, as I was mentioning earlier.
Did you not see what they just did to Tottenham?
Well, I wasn't watching it, but I did see the result, which is a bit worrying.
Yeah. Okay. Go on, West Ham.
West Ham, I had as a draw.
Yeah.
I think I had it as a loss originally. I'm trying to bring it up to at least a draw, thinking because of their European journey, is that a winnable game? I'm not writing it off. There's a bit of positivity, trying to clutch at some straws, as you were saying. And then Tottenham last game, I had it as a win. I still think we could get a win there. They're going to have no manager. We might have no manager, but we'll at least have something to play for.
I mean, the more that they have to play for, the more happy I'd feel about facing Tottenham, because they'll only bottle it anyway. So let them be still in contention on the last day. We've got more chance of getting something there. Nick G asking 36 at a push. Would that be okay? 36 has been enough the last 3 seasons or so, hasn't it? So
I think 36 would be.
Lad, what did you have us up from the last 5 games? What did you think? And then what did you, when you first did your predictions, think we were? Because I'm not going to let you get away with bullshitting yourself out of this. The first time first time you did this, you didn't write your results down, but we were there, we heard you, and you actually had us on more points than your dad did. And I think we finished above Chelsea, so you can't get away with this now.
No, I think
you have the last 5.
So, was this the original one?
Ideally,
my newer one?
You remember it? Because I know it didn't say.
Right, well, I've got it on my notes here, the original one. So, so our last 5 from Leicester Ed. So, I just win it. So, winning against Leicester.
Yeah.
Winning against Bournemouth.
Okay.
Losing against City.
Well, of course, yeah.
Losing against Newcastle.
Okay.
And then West Ham and Tottenham both draws.
So 8 points from the last 6.
Yeah, but I did predict Crystal Palace to be a win, which wasn't.
So you accept that you are able to be wrong quite drastically sometimes.
Don't worry. My changed one is awful.
So I was going to say, right now, are you going to stand by that 8 points? No. What?
Nope.
Are you going to half it or go higher or lower?
Lower.
Lower than a half? Wow. Go on. So what points do we pick up? None.
Well, so I don't want to give too much away for tomorrow's game.
Right, okay.
But I don't think it's going to be a win.
Right, okay. No, that's fair.
I see us picking up. I've put Bournemouth and Spurs
as points. Okay. But everything else, so West Ham, Newcastle, City, all defeats.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Can't really complain too much with that. I think, so my original, the only thing I've got wrong so far, I said we'd beat Forest, I said we'd lose the other 3, but obviously I don't think anyone predicted we'd lose 5-1 to Palace. Like Chris, I said it'd be a draw. That's the only one I've got wrong so far. I actually went originally for a 1-1 draw tomorrow. I said we'd take 4 points from the next 2 games. I'm still kind of hopeful that would be the case, but I think it's fair to say, and it's probably going to be a similar take to what other people say around this week, these 2 massive games, Leicester and then Bournemouth. I think if we lose either of them, we could be gone. It's as simple as that. And tomorrow, if one team wins, I think the other goes down. Let's hope to God that's not us. But yeah, City defeat. I actually had the last 3 games as draws. So do I still fancy us to draw against Newcastle? Probably not. West Ham and Spurs, hopefully. But I'd struggle to go any more than 6-7 points from these last 6 games. I did a little prediction with all the other teams' fixtures the other day, and I said this to you guys before we went live, but I was hoping I could change it, but I actually had us going down on maybe 33, maybe 34. But either way that I worked it out, someone always finished a point or 2 above us. So it's hard to tell. I do think this week's going to be huge, these 2 games. If we can come out of it with your predictions looking the best, lad, 2 wins from these 2 games, then I think it will feel a lot better. Don't forget, it's only 3 or 4 games ago that Leeds United kind of started to feel like it was a happy place again, and people had a bit of faith in Javi Gracia. We're all getting behind it, and it's been a hard April, which it always is, isn't it? April's never nice, but hopefully the back end of it, we've got 2 winnable games now. Touch wood. Hope I've not just cursed that as well, but. Yeah, let's preview Leicester. Lad, you're one of the FIFA generation. You should know plenty about Leicester. Tell us what we need to know. Is Maddison going to be playing? I've heard Harvey Barnes is back and ready to play, but I think the one we want to know the answer to is James Maddison. Is he fit? Do you know?
Yeah, well, I think he was out with an illness, wasn't he? I think on the weekend. So let's hope it's a bad one and that he's still out today.
let's wish him ill.
Yeah, but I think I don't know. I've seen that Barnes is definitely back, but I haven't seen anything to like confirm like Maddison's 100% going to be back. But Barnes scores against us every time he plays, so I think I care about him being back more than Maddison, to be honest. But
yeah, I don't know. Maddison's is the one that can create something, but Harvey Barnes is obviously the player that just fucking turns up every time against us, doesn't he? Just kills us. So you'd rather both of them be out, but obviously they had both out and still won the other day against
exactly.
Wolves. So it's one of them. Are they coming into form? Is it fair to say they're coming into form on the back of 1 win?
I don't think you can say that. I mean, but the form for both of us in the last 5's been terrible. I mean, yeah, it'd be great for us to come in off the back of the win, but
yeah,
I think it's 2 nervous teams. It's 2 teams fighting for their lives. I think both teams have got fairly similar fixtures, and I think both teams are going to be relying on those attacking players. So I don't know.
The important thing is we are still above them.
Yeah, just.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. I was trying to give you more rope to take it on your positive direction, and you just didn't want that rope, did you?
No, well, yeah, I kind of thought there was a chance if results went right, we'd be 7 points clear of a win, but now obviously that's not the case. I think even if they don't have these players playing Maddison and Barnes, they've still got other players who can hurt us. Even Vardy, if he's fit, I still wouldn't fancy him running our defence.
I noticed, obviously, Dean Smith has now taken over at Leicester as well. Notoriously has a really good relationship with us. John Terry as well, who I'll never forgive. You still see that clip and you still see him telling Bielsa to sit down, you fat fuck. And I'm just like, I hate you so much as a human being. I really fucking hate you. But no, just bad blood there always. Doesn't matter whether they're in a Villa uniform or a Leicester uniform. I still hate him. But yeah, with Leicester, I remember from the match of the day post-match press conference, Dean Smith was kind of summing up how their season had gone before he got there, which you don't normally expect managers to do, but it was because Tielemans had given the ball away in the build-up to their first goal that they conceded, and he just kind of said all season's been like that. All of our goals that we've conceded all season been down to individual mistakes, but he thinks that they've got the quality to stay up, and most likely they do. Tielemans, quality player, but you wouldn't think it off this season. Maddison will get a move this summer, you'd imagine. Vardy may be coming towards the end, but still probably take him at Leeds compared to some of the garbage we've got. And Harvey Barnes, obviously, if they were to go down, everyone would be after Harvey Barnes, or at least within reason, maybe not Man City and Liverpool, but teams mid-table and such would be looking at him. But I think unless we are going to do what we have always done, which is press, if you're going to be passive tomorrow night at Elland Road and let a Leicester team that have made so many mistakes individually this season just have the ball and dictate possession, if you're not going to fucking press tomorrow, you're never going to, surely. Like, that's the one team that you go and you press into making a mistake and make this happen. You can't be there and just sit and be passive and expect them not to break us down, because everybody fucking has lately. I don't think sitting back and trying to be defensively resolute and pick teams off is going to be the way that this works. What would you do? I mean, we'll come obviously to lineups, but in terms of style, lad, what would you be telling the players to do? How would you be setting them up tomorrow?
I think because of the conditions of the game, like considering how like big it is and stuff. I think it does demand for like a high intensity game of, we need to get in these Leicester players' faces. Let's force the mistakes because that's what they've been doing all season. Let's keep getting at them. I think that's what's key because I think the atmosphere is going to be so, like, if it goes wrong, it's going to be so negative. But then there's that chance of it being, if we smash Leicester, it's going to be so positive. Yeah. And I think that our downfall tomorrow, it could possibly be that if we just sit back and let them come to us, I think that's going to change it. Because we've seen it before, like that Brighton game where we drew 2-2. Sat back, we did everything perfectly, but God, the people that were complaining, it's like, we got a 2-2 draw against Brighton. There was plenty of complaints about like not pressing them and stuff, but it worked.
Wasn't me, I promise. me and your dad were already in the bar when Bamford scored. We got fed up.
Yeah, but I think because tomorrow we can't sit back. I just like for the atmosphere, especially for the way Leicester play, we can't because everything will just turn bad quickly.
I think, Dean Smith was saying as well about playing the fans, playing the occasion in his pre-match presser. He was saying, obviously, if we can frustrate the crowd and get them to turn, then gives us an opportunity. So they're looking to use the Leeds crowd as a 12th man, which is never a good thing. I agree very much. We can't sit back. We can't be passive because I think the crowd is going to be on edge either way. That first goal is usually what you'd say is most important in determining how the support will work, whether it's going to be pro or anti. And at the moment, we've got every excuse to be anti. You heard some of the chants that were going on Sunday about the board, Victor Orta, Bielsa coming back as well, of course. But no, I agree with Lad. It doesn't even necessarily have to be the first goal. It's the first 20 minutes and how we set up and how we go about giving it to Leicester a little bit, not being afraid of them in our own backyard when they're below us in the table at this time of the season. And we've had 3 games now on the bounce that were incredibly disappointing. We need a reaction tomorrow. Chris, what do you think that they can do stylistically to make that happen? Is it just like we said, just fucking get at them?
I think it's just getting back to what they've been good at. So you've got to have your pacey players. You've got to have we're going to get into predictions. So we've got to have players like Nonto starting, the people that have made stuff happen against Forest down the left, Sinistero and Firpo. They had a great partnership, but I don't know if that's worth sort of sticking together, trying those two again. But whatever they did on that night, that was working. They were overlapping and causing all sorts of problems down the right hand side. And on our right hand side, I'd probably like to see Elland come back as well, and he can offer that attacking threat as well. We've got to go for it without being reckless because we don't want them to just get an early lead, early couple of goals. There's got to be a bit of a balance, but it's sticking to what. We've got our individuals up at the top who can make stuff happen and just be positive. I think that's all we can do.
Yeah, I mean, Javi Gracia did say some of the things that we've said today actually in his press conference. I mean, I've seen a few people in the chat saying not a lot to feel inspired about in that press conference, and it's hard to disagree. He doesn't say a right lot, which at times can work in your favour and at times can work against you. He spoke about the condition of some of the players and some that may or may not be involved tomorrow. He didn't name names, of course, but I just want to make this one thing clear because you get a lot of people that think what's going on with the Willy Gnonto situation. He has said in so many press conferences now, there are a few players that are training 2 or 3 times a week. He's named a few of them. He said Bamford, he said Forshaw, he said Cooper. Willy Gnonto is not one of these players that is, in his words, Javi Gracia, coming back from a long-term injury and needs to be managed. He said that Willy Gnonto is fully fit, can play the full 90 minutes, and he said that I think he was referring more to the choice of Meslier over Robles in this week's press conference, but other times he's spoken about Firpo at left back or Christensen or Ayling at right back, and these are his choices, and he will put the players that he thinks are best suited to his plan at the time. And there's no confusion for me over what Gracia is saying. Gnonto is not injured. Gnonto is not unfit and unable to do 90 minutes. Willy Gnonto is ready to play. And perhaps it might be that he doesn't like his attitude, not accepting his place. I don't know what it is, but there's something that's making Javi Gracia not turn to the one player we all want to see. And yeah, I mean, we're going to get into the lineups anyway, but have either of you guys watched the full press conference? Or have you seen bits, and what did you make of it? Chris, I'll ask you first.
Yeah, I've seen bits of it, and the same. It didn't sound like he was going to make a great deal of change. It wasn't inspiring, and he made it clear he's not just going to start chucking the young players in like we've said. Yeah, I don't understand the Gnonto situation. I guess we don't see what's said after the game. We don't know we don't know who the, I suppose, good characters are at the moment. I suppose it is possible. He's had a good run. He's got his agent saying there's all these clubs after him, and his head could have been turned. We just don't know. Hopefully that's not the case. It just seems strange when every time we see this guy on the pitch, he makes something happen. So yeah, my worry is we're going to see the same sort of start 11 tomorrow. I suppose it's good maybe that he's keeping everyone guessing. Doesn't want to. Yeah, we don't want to give it all away. But yeah, there was kind of no sort of rallying call, that message that came out of that press conference that said it was going to be a big change.
Definitely no call to arms, is there? It's not that kind of manager. He's not that kind of guy. I mean, it worked in his favour in that period where it was going so well, where I liked that he was calm, quiet, understated, the absolute antithesis of his predecessor, which kind of I wanted at the time. But I think the thing that's bothered me, and I have calmed down a lot since Saturday, and I'm nowhere near as angry and as disappointed as I was. But I had got to the point with not just, I was with the away end. I wasn't obviously there. I wasn't singing with them, but I was sat in my mum's kitchen feeling the way that they were vocalising the way that they felt. I was annoyed at the board still. I was annoyed at why we've ended up in this place. I do still always will want Bielsa back, and people will hate that. But yeah, the whole thing could have just gone in the bin for me. I was fuming, and I took the Willy Gnonto thing as my cue to sort of say, Javi Gracia, obviously for me, he can stay till the end of the season. He has to keep us up. And until a few weeks ago, I would have said, if he keeps us up, we think about it. I think the plan would always still be to go and get Iraola after we've stayed up, hopefully, and he takes us forward after that, or someone that they actually wanted, maybe on a slot, who knows. But for me at this point, I didn't think the fans would be able to get behind Gracia's style anyway. But just this persistence with players, that it's a bit like the Bielsa and Tyler Roberts thing, where Bielsa used to persist with a player that we all kind of thought wasn't good enough. But at least it was Marcelo Bielsa making that decision, and we all kind of, as a whole, went, he's forgotten more than I've ever learned about this sport, so I give him it. It's fine. But just refusing to play someone who's obviously our best player, or one of our best players at the very least. It's the strange decisions to bring. I know we were losing games, but to bring Jorginho Ruta off the bench at certain times, and all he does is come on and fall over. The persistence with, both managers this season to constantly use Brendan Aronson as, that's fine, he can play 90 minutes in the Premier League, he's a solid enough footballer. He's not. Some of the decisions, and I some of them we'll get to when we do the lineup prediction, but I think Fulham was my cue to sort of say, keep us up and then be on your way, thank you. So yeah, really, really hard to get behind. And did the press conference do anything to make you feel any better, lad?
No, I tried watching a bit of it, but the problem is he just does not sound like an inspirational guy. No. It sounds like he kind of knows what he's on about, but I just can't get behind him. I think the problem is with this season, this is such like a unlikable team.
Yeah.
You can always pick out, bar Gnonto and maybe Somerville, you can always pick out a negative for every single player that goes out on that pitch. But it's not convincing again when he just says, I don't feel like change is going to sort anything out. persisting with the same players over and over again when
Madness.
we've just played three games, conceded 13.
Doing the same thing and getting the same results is the definition of madness. But like you were saying, talk about back in the day. It pains me to say his name on a Leeds United podcast, but Fergie used to give the players the hairdryer treatment. Could you imagine Javi Gracia putting a rocket up anybody? It's just not that guy. He said himself in press conferences he doesn't like to shout. He isn't that person. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I sympathise that he came in at a difficult time and he was taking over from someone who was already universally pretty unpopular anyway. And a lot of the chants that went on Saturday weren't directed at him, and people might not blame him. But when we get to this lineup, if it continues to piss me off as much as it did on well, every lineup actually all season, but if it continues to piss me off this time tomorrow night, then the amount of credit that is already wilting in his bank is just going to keep falling out for me. Let's move on to lineup predictions. Let's see what you both got in store then. I'll ask you to do as always, guys, if you're watching in the chat, if you haven't already, do the usual, smash a like, subscribe to the channel, all that stuff. But play along with us, send us your lineup predictions as well. If you want to go position by position, go for it. Or if you want to just whack the full 11 in there, go for that too. That's fine. But we're going to start with the goalkeeping situation, which has obviously been quite a hot topic in the press conference today anyway. As much as Chris is definitely right, 2 mistakes for me from Meslier that led to both goals against Fulham. Confidence looks to have gone out of him. But do we really have anything else that you would throw in as a first-choice Premier League goalkeeper for your run into the final end of the season? Lad, would you change, put Robles in, or would you put Klaassen in, or just stick with Meslier and try and get the fuckers in front of him to do their jobs?
I mean, I've watched both Klaassen and Robles in person. Klaassen came on for an injured Meslier, looked all right last season.
Yeah.
Robles, like, the best way I could describe it, he just looked like a Claudio Bravo type person. He just looked like an absolute nutter on that goal line.
Doing Bravo a disservice there, I'll be honest.
Yeah, but I think you just got to stay with him. I think, it's too much of a risk in a way to try and bring in Klaassen or Robles with, this many games left of the season. Because, as much as mistakes he's made, like, when you concede a certain amount of shots, you're going to concede some at some point. If they're all on target, if you're conceding 20 shots a game, you're probably bound to, concede one at least. But I think all the times that he's made massive saves for us as well. I think you've got to keep him in because he can be that clutch goalkeeper. I think keep him in. I don't see why we should change. Yes, he's made the mistakes, but the amount of times that he's saved us as well. I think.
Still made 2 top quality saves against Fulham, and you've got to remember as well, both of the goals, as much as he makes mistakes for both of them, they both come from the same area, and that's not his fault. It's 2 crosses from our right back position that could be stopped. So, I mean, a couple of comments coming in on different takes on it. John here saying Meslier been poor recently, but shouldn't forget all those saves that he's made. It's defence that we have issues with as well. So, Chris, the first comment that I flashed up there said, does anybody have the balls to change the goalkeeper? I mean, you're the man with the balls here, Chris. Would you change him?
No, I wouldn't.
No ball.
I don't think it's a ballsy decision to make. I just think you can't do it.
Yeah.
The other guys are not proven in our team. I think any goalkeeper. I mean, I know there's been loads written about him this week, but any goalkeeper who's going to have a weak midfield like ours, he's got the defence, right back, left back, chopping and changing all the time, different centre back pairings. You're going to have a bad record. There's no way of sustaining that. I just think you can't take him out. The other goalie has a bad game. Then what are you going to do after that? Swap back to Meslier, and you've got 2 goalies with sort of confident shot. So. I think he's a decent keeper. He hasn't just lost it overnight. He just needs Yeah, just needs the defence to back him up and everyone to kind of stick together.
Yeah. No, I'd definitely be inclined to agree. Obviously, I respect people's opinion if they are wanting to take Meslier out and put Robles in. The thing with Robles is people will say, "Oh, he's been in a Premier League relegation battle before with Wigan." Yeah, he went down. He didn't stay up, and he was.
He won an FA Cup.
He won an FA Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. But obviously got relegated with them, and for to bring that up and bring Wigan up, he's not played a full season or been a regular first choice goalkeeper since he fucking left Wigan. And realistically, he's played once for us again, lad. We were there. I didn't think he looked very good. I thought he was dog shit. And I know Meslier has been poor and there's so many weaknesses we could point out. I mean, there was a stat, weirdly enough, that went out recently and did the rounds again on Twitter of Meslier being one of the most commanding goalkeepers in Europe's top 5 leagues to come and collect crosses. I imagine the statistics were harmed greatly by this weekend's events, but
definitely.
Free kicks, he can be susceptible at free kicks, but obviously made a great save from that Willian free kick against Fulham. There's ups and downs. There's definite choices one way or the other, and it's something that has been asked a lot in the press conference. Thank you, by the way, to Sean for the super chat. A lot of money there, but thank you very much. This is the team that you would put out. You've gone for Joe Robles in goal. We're going to be touching on this back four in a minute, but you've got Ayling back in at right back, Cooper and Verber as your centre backs. Seen a few people taking Robin Koch out, which we'll definitely get to. Everyone getting Junior Firpo back in, which I'm a happy man to see. Rocker and Forshaw in midfield, so McKennie coming out there. Again, I think this could be repeated by most of the panel tonight, but we'll see. Cini and Somerville out wide. Aronson coming out for Brendan Aronson in that number 10, and Bamford up top. Does have the balls to take Meslier out. So yeah, very good, Sean. We'll leave that up there for everyone to see for a few minutes. But let's move on to that back four then. I mean, I'll start at right back, and let's be honest, neither of them have been good this season in general. Ayling had a terrible few games, which led to Christensen going back in. Does Christensen make you feel any safer at right back than Luke Ayling, lad?
No.
So
like, you could play either of them there, and I wouldn't tell the difference. That's how I see it. You could play either of them there. I wouldn't tell the difference. It's just a toss-up every time. I think, when Ayling goes on his bad run of form, you bring in Christensen. When Christensen inevitably goes on his bad run of form, you swap with Ayling again. It's a total toss-up between them. I don't think either one is better than the other. The only reason why I'd probably be more inclined to play Christensen because I'd argue he's younger. He's got more of a future at the club than Ayling. Right. In a way, Ayling's knocking on a bit. He's coming to the end of his career. I think I'd only play Christensen for the fact that he could look like treat him as an asset. Have him be valuable for the future. Develop him. But I think right now you can't be focusing on that. So it's a toss up every time. I couldn't care who plays right back.
I mean, I actually like Gail's suggestion here. It happened towards the back end of last season, didn't it? Robin Koch at right back, and it wasn't bad. And I mean, I've seen a couple of people saying obviously Verber and Cooper need to stay in as centre halves and Firpo coming in at left back. I think if you're going to change anything, I don't think Robin Koch necessarily would be one of the first ones I'd drop. I would be more inclined, but then you've got fucking 4 centre backs, and oh God knows. Chris, who would you go for at right back? Does it, like Lad said, does it really matter? Are they bad as each other, or?
Yeah, I don't. It's not going to win or lose the game. I'd personally go Ayling. I think just for hopefully some good attacking play. Maybe Ayling of old popping up with some goals, some late runs. Just something where maybe the passion's there. I know Christensen shows a bit of that as well, and he's popped up with the odd goal, I suppose. But
yeah,
I think Ayling's a bit more reliable at the moment.
Christensen, I think, only got in the team because he had a couple of goals in a couple of games, didn't he? But generally, was his actual performance as a defensive right back any good? No. I mean, Ayling, don't get me wrong, was having a terrible run of form. We all
you could say that for both of them, though.
Well, yeah,
you could say that for both of them.
Yeah. Who do you think better going forward? Got a few people saying Ayling. Do you guys agree Ayling's better going forward, or are they about the same?
I'd say Ayling's better going forward.
Yeah, we've seen it more. I think we've seen it more. Just Ayling is so much better going forwards. Right, yeah. Just from the history of him being here.
Yeah, I mean, I would personally go for Ayling anyway, and just for the sole purpose of, for me, with Rasmus Christensen, the only time I see him touch the ball when we've got possession or when he's got the ball and has to make a decision of what to do with it, it's pump that ball up the line aimlessly. It's never pick a pass, bomb on. It's never pass and move. It's always, right, I'll look down the line to see who can get on the end of this. Nobody. I'll still lump it there anyway. So, yeah, I think for me, I'd go Ayling. Centre back, because I'll be intrigued to see what people say here. I'm fully in favour of getting Firpo back in at left back. Just spoiler alert for when we get in there. But Chris, are you keeping Cooper as a centre back and Verber out at left back, or are you doing what everyone wants us to do here? Get Cooper and Verber both in at centre back. Obviously, there is a little bit of doubt over both. Both sort of went down injured during that Fulham game, and Gracia sort of hinted that maybe one, if not both, may not be in the physical condition, or we have to judge the condition. I don't know exactly what he was alluding to. Very evasive. But what would your ideal centre-back pairing be?
I think if they're all fit, I'd probably keep Cockett there, Cooper as well, and Verber would be at left back. I'm sort of open to Firpo, not against him there, just because I've seen how well he did sort of link up with Sinisterra on that one game. We haven't seen it that regularly, but I think that's what I'd go for if they're all fit, but it doesn't sound like they are.
Right. Lad, centre backs?
If they're all fit, it's got to be Werber and Cooper. Werber's he's a centre back. He isn't a left back. Although he can do his shift there, he's so much better at centre back. And how can you drop Cooper after his game on Fulham?
Yeah.
After Fulham,
Interesting. So obviously, is everyone on the panel saying that we'd rather drop a Robin Koch and bring back a Junior Firpo then?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'd Koch in the middle.
All right. Okay. You sure you don't want to revisit? You want to leave Junior Firpo on the bench?
I think so. I'd quite like to see him as a attacking sub. It sounds. I think we joked about that months ago of him coming on and changing the game, but
game changer.
I think that's where it'd be best placed for this match.
Fair enough. Interesting. Nobody at the start of the season would have said Pascal Struijk was our best centre back. Nobody's got him in. Nobody's got him in at left back, centre back, anywhere. Fully fit. Says a lot as to how that season's gone for him. And maybe, I mean, I saw a couple of podcasts this week referred to the Marsh mistake and what they deemed as being a massive failing on the club's part of taking away that Bielsa-ness, the thing that Bielsa did so well and why he had all those staff lingering around. I think Moscow White did a great job of explaining it on the Square Ball and just said you had so many coaches turning these people that we bought for pennies into millions because of the coaching, and then you bring in someone that can just motivate players and doesn't coach them, and now we see that none of our players have improved. So I enjoyed that, and I think maybe that's Pascal might be one of the players that's definitely been affected by it. Maybe even Melier, I don't know. But interesting to see, obviously, Junior Firpo has been already at big clubs, Barcelona obviously being the obvious one, trained with Messi and played with Messi quite a bit. So maybe that's one thing where that's worked in his favour. He doesn't need improving. Maybe Junior Firpo is the finished article. So me and Lad both putting Firpo back in at left back. Ayling and Coops the Verber and Coops as the centre halves with Ayling at right back. That back four, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Junior Firpo has suddenly overnight become captain material, but Verber, Cooper and Ayling does sound to have at least given us a bit more of that leadership that we've yearned for recently when we've been saying Pascal doesn't offer that, Robin Koch doesn't offer that, Rasmus doesn't offer that. At least those three, maybe I'm thinking from that point of view, and that seems to feel solid to me. But again, it does definitely depend on what's in front of them. And we're going to go for a midfield 2, but I'll be honest, I'm dreading putting anyone in here. I'm sure if Dad was here, Sam Greenwood's name would be in the conversation, but I am glad Dad's not. Chris, who's your defensive double pivot in front of the back four? Tell me who you want, but who you expect, because I imagine they're going to be different.
There isn't anyone that I massively want. I don't think whoever he puts in those two positions, you're going to be massively excited, but I'd like to see Rocker and Forshaw, and I think that's what's going to happen, especially if something has gone on with McKennie behind the scenes. I suppose we don't know, but if that has happened, he shouldn't be anywhere near the squad. He shouldn't be on the bench if his head's already out the door. He's not who we need.
So you're going Forshaw in for McKennie?
Yeah.
Okay, Lad, would you do the same?
I want Forshaw and Rocker. I don't think we're going to get him. We don't think we're going to get that. I think it will be McKennie and Rocker again. We're going to have to suffer through that for another 90 minutes.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think if I had to predict the lineup, I think it will still be the same two, McKennie and Rocker. The only thing I would say about Adam Forshaw, been out for a long time. He's one of these that we've been told is training 2 to 3 days a week sometimes, but may be fit to do a full 90. Does he? I know I saw someone put the tweet out just before we went live, actually saying our best midfielder, Adam Forshaw, and I know there was a bit of tongue in cheek about that and accepting we shouldn't still be saying that in 2023. But for me, I think Forshaw's of that group that I think we need to start to move away from now in the summer. Don't get me wrong, McKennie as well. I'd walk away from that deal. I wouldn't take the obligation or the option, whatever the fuck it is, to buy him. But at the same time, does Adam Forshaw introduce more? It really depends on what it is that you want. I think him and Mark Rocker sort of are more similar. And then if you put him in, him and Mark Rocker doing exactly the same thing, maybe that's not really what you want from those roles. You want one to be a bit deeper and one to go on. And Forshaw's neither of those for me. He's exactly the same as Rocker. So I don't get me wrong, I don't want to see. I don't even want to see that formation. I've said all season I want 4-3-3, but I know what formation it will be. I think it is going to be Rocker and McKennie, whether we like it or not. And for me, I would almost say, fine, let that be what it is, and please just take Brendan Aronson out. That's where my thing is. Like, I can accept those two being there if you're going to take Brendan Aronson out and give me Willie Gnonto. Who's your 3 in behind the striker, lad?
So I've gone for Cini, Gnonto and Somerville.
Yeah, with Somerville as the right winger, Cini as the left, and Gnonto as 10.
Yeah, I mean it can be interchangeable.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I wasn't Sinisterra's biggest fan after the Liverpool game.
No.
You know, I was quite angry with him, but you can pop up with it sometimes. You just need to sort out his work rate, and you can become a very likable player. But I think that's probably like the best 3 behind we could maybe have. You could throw Harrison in there, but ever since he signed that new contract, he looks like a different player, but in a bad way.
Yeah. I must admit, I'd say the only one that maybe hard done by not being in there is probably Harrison, just based on work rate. But I think if you have got that leadership at the back that we were talking about, maybe you can afford to do a little bit of the let them free, that front 4. Chris, surely you ain't starting Brendan Aronson, right?
No, I'd go exactly the same front 3. I think it's what I think 90% of the Leeds fans want. We're all crying out for Gnonto to get back in. We all, you can see the pace that Somerville's got. He's direct. He causes problems, and Sinisterra can kind of do it all on his day. So the 3 of them is, I think, our best option. Potentially could start Harrison, because I think if there's a sub coming on, I think he offers less of a threat than the other 3. So maybe hold one of them back. And he's also popped up with, I suppose, the most goals and assists, and his numbers over the last sort of couple of seasons can't lie. He is always there, but certainly don't want to see Aronson. He comes as a sub. Be quite happy with that, but certainly not starting.
I like that fridge, man. Good shout. Michael as well asking why we're playing 4-2-3-1. It hasn't worked for weeks. I'm not, mate. I don't want to play this formation, but
yeah, no, we don't want to play it.
Chris, I'm going to give you that positivity hot potato again, mate. You just gave us the a little bit of why we should have that front three that we all want there. Do you think we're going to get that front three, Chris?
No, I don't.
I gave you the chance again, and just there you go.
I think we're going to be disappointed. I think I don't know. Part of me thinks he will take Aronson out just because they will all be aware. The squad will be aware. Aronson will be aware of what's been said. Not necessarily from.
Or was Tyler Roberts aware?
Well, I think he was. Yeah, the message gets to them every sort of every podcast, every article that's written. They're all saying the same kind of general messages, and I think for that reason you sometimes got to take them out of the limelight. He hasn't been doing anything. He hasn't been scoring, not been assisting very regularly. So that alone, that's why you take him out.
Who are you going up front then, Chris? So obviously you could argue it's a nice headache to have Bamford, who has claimed a goal at least at Fulham, didn't score one but claimed one. Rodrigo, our top scorer, and record signing Jorginho Ruta, who's going up front, Chris.
I think it's got to have Bamford or Rodrigo for me, but I'd like to see Bamford, and I think it will be. I've lost track on who's fit and who's not out of the pair of them. I don't know if either of them are fully fit, but they're both sort of getting minutes.
Well, yeah, it seems like Bamford's starting more at the moment when he can. So can he do 2 games in a week? Who knows? Either way, I always feel like I know the all-round performance isn't Messi levels, and I know he has his times where he frustrates people, but Rodrigo's goal scoring this season, you can't look past it. And at the moment, in a relegation battle, what do we need? We need goals. So if we are going to start with Bamford, we need to be getting Rodrigo on a lot earlier than we have been doing lately. If we are really going to stick fucking Nonto on the bench again, he needs to be coming on a lot sooner than bloody 15 minutes before the end, 10 minutes before the end. Lad, who's your striker of choice?
I've gone for Rodrigo. I mean, I'm a big fan of him. I think the game that really proved him to me was it was a loss, but when we lost 4-3 to Tottenham, his finishing and that was lethal. And I think that just shows what you can do. And it's like you said, we need goals in a relegation battle, so why not play a top goal scorer? I think he looks the most exciting when he's in and around the box. Yeah. I just think he has to play.
Yeah, I agree. Don't get me wrong, either or. That's not going to be where my bugbear is when the team comes out. I'll take either, but let's see if those changes get made and if they make us feel any better. What is it, 6:45 tomorrow, 7 o'clock tomorrow? Let's hope. Come on then, let's get it over and done with. Let's get the score predictions in. I'm going to find a really struggling way to end this on a positive. So for the sake of being the negative one, I think for once I'll change the way this works and I'll just go first because I don't expect much. Originally, like I said, I had it down for a 1-1 draw. We need to not lose tomorrow. We need to not lose on Sunday against Bournemouth, and ideally we need 4 to 6 points from those 2 games. We cannot lose. But I think that atmosphere tomorrow is going to be a hard one to contend with, and especially depending on who gets the first goal. Harvey Barnes tears us apart every time he fucking plays us. It's not ideal. They've got a new manager. They've got that bounce. Ours seems to have deflated. I'm really hard pushed to say that we're going to get anything more than a point tomorrow. I'll stick with my original prediction of 1-1. But do I really have that much conviction in it? I'll try stick with 1-1. That's me trying my best to be positive, I'll be honest. Goal scorer, I'm going to go with Firpo Limbs as always. So, yeah, fingers crossed. Junior Firpo to bring up the relegation battle, keep us in it with a bit of hope. I think, Chris, you're going to be the most positive. I'm thinking anyway. So I'm going to come to Lad. No. Is the face saying come to me next? I'm not sure.
Well, I don't mind either way, but I had it down as a win originally.
Okay.
I'd like to stick with that, but I'll probably sound absolutely mental if I do say that. I think both teams are going to be nervous. Leicester won their last game, but I don't think they're coming thinking, right, we've turned the corner. They'll be looking at the league, and it's arguably worse for them. It obviously, if we win, that's a sizable gap that they've got to climb. So I think there's goals. I think
whoever loses tomorrow is down.
Well, yeah, if there is a loser, I'm tempted to say 2-2, to be honest.
Okay, well, you didn't downgrade that hard. So, lad, you've got the positivity all ending on you here, mate. I mean, if you don't do it, Jaman's obviously put his predictions in. Melier scoring a 97th minute. If Mark Rocker's taking the corners, Jamal, I can guarantee you that's not happening.
That isn't making it past the first man. You can guarantee that.
But lad, come on, give us some positivity, please.
I mean, we're gonna have to look for Javan for the positivity. I'm not looking forward to tomorrow whatsoever. I'm gonna hate watching the game. I'm just gonna hate everything about it. Even if we win, I'm still gonna find something to hate because this team is just, I hate it. But yeah, I'm going for a 1-1 draw. I just don't see us winning. We can't lose. I hate predicting us to lose. Yeah. So a 1-1 draw. That's what I'm thinking.
So that's an entirely negative panel, all trying their best to beg for a draw for tomorrow. So yeah, if you've stayed with us all this time and you were waiting for a happy ending, life doesn't work like that. We're Leeds fans. We don't get nice things. But yeah, Chris, lad, thank you for your time as always. I would ask you where you're watching the game tomorrow, but it makes no difference, does it? We're all going to be watching it through our hands and crying until it's over. And then only 5 more horrible weeks of it to go, I suppose. So, yeah, one way or another, we all die eventually. Thanks for your time as always, guys. If you haven't already, do the usual, smash a like, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, fingers crossed for 3 points tomorrow night. See you on the other side.